I was watching Ramana Maharishi documentary yesterday.
I've seen that many years before. It is amazing.
Yeah, it's worth, well, for me anyway, it's worth watching many times.
Sure, it is.
And there's an interesting dialogue in well, there's many interesting dialogues, but there's one interesting dialogue in with his one of his principal disciples, whose name I can't remember. It's like Ganapati or something like that. Famous disciple of his, and the disciple asks, "What is tapas?" And I personally don't know what it means. But
Tapas means spiritual practice, sadhana, another name for spiritual asceticism.
Okay. Because this guy is like a phenomenal scholar, and everybody's impressed by his presence even. You know, he's like, people were in awe of him, this disciple. And he went to Ramana Maharishi, and said, "I know everything about everything. But please, I need help. Please, tell me what is tapas?" And then the answer is something like, basically, go looking for the I, and go looking for the I, and look for the source of the I. And when you find the source of the I will dissolve into the source, and then the real I will appear. It's something very close to this that he says. So what's the difference between that, looking for the source of the I, and the practice that you tell me to do, which is to what is looking at the what is looking at the I, or when you're meditating on emptiness, for example, and there is no I, what is able to accommodate that experience? Are they the same practices, just in different words?
Yeah, it is the same practice as an end result, but through another standpoint. So you can you can go to the top of the mountain through different paths. So there are many kinds of practices, tapas or sadhanas, that they will reveal that the fake small I does not really exist. It is only what we call in Advaita Vedanta Chidabhasa, which means the reflected consciousness. So by trying to find it, by trying to see whether this small I does really exist or not, it runs away. It disappears by itself, because it is like a ghost. It does not have inherent existence. It borrows its existence from the real consciousness, the real I. This is also what they are referring to when they speak about Atma vichara in the writings of Ramana Maharishi. But when Ramana Maharishi was speaking about doing Atma vichara, he was not, of course, meaning or wanted to say to ask who am I, like a parrot. Atma vichara, it does really exist in Advaita Vedanta Guru Parampara or holy tradition, and it is Sravanam and Mananam, like listening and inquiring into the nature of Atma or Brahman. This is Atma vichara. Atma vichara really means investigation or inquiry into the nature of Atma or Brahman, which cannot be done by simply asking the question, who am I, who am I, who am I? Because actually there is no answer in this question. Atma vichara cannot be revealed and cannot be done through this question. It can be revealed only through Mahavakya Upadesa, through a competent guru who belongs to a guru parampara, sampradaya. And through his guidance, you do what we say as Sravanam, Mananam, and then Nitidhyasanam to internalize all this total inquiry.
So what was the can't say the word. Shravanam. What's the first stage?
Sravanam.
Shravanam, Mananam. What was the Shravanam and Mananam that Maharishi's disciples did then? It was this analysis, because
they were not actually doing in a right way Sravanam and Mananam and also Nididhyasanam, because himself, Ramana Maharishi, was not part of any Guru Parampara, at least in this reincarnation, in his last reincarnation. So he was not able to guide his disciples according to the Upanishads. He was trying to guide them according to his personal experience and through his realization, but that is not enough. It can be enough only to those who are on that spiritual maturity as himself. Because if you say to anybody, just ask, who am I, who am I, who am I, nobody will be able to find out the truth and to find out the nature of the self with capital S. It is impossible. It needs only Sravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam, and a constant and regular study under the guidance of a competent guru. There is no other way. And there is, of course, it is also mentioned like that in the Upanishads.
Yes, because some of his disciples then must have been very close to attaining realizations before they met him, because they
yes,
attained,
they were. They were
realization, some of them, just by
yes, they were.
Just by listening to a few instructions, because he did teach a little bit. They just listened to a few instructions, and some of them, they attained realizations just by being in silence with him. So they must have been
exactly.
very mature.
They were, some of them, they were really ready for such kind of a teaching. Just like Ramana Maharishi himself was ready, and at the age of 16 years old, he was having this death experience, and it was enough to complete his self-realization process. And also the one who wrote one of his first talks, he was also a very known scholar and a very known person in India, and he was known for his realization. And also all those who were around him in his ashram, they were really very advanced.
High level. So in when we talk about Shravanam, Manam, Nididhyasanam, it's for the vast majority of people, they need a very systematic. It's only a few exceptions where you can condense this.
Yes, exactly. Like Ramana Maharishi himself, of course, he was not in need of doing this process of Sravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam in this reincarnation, in his last reincarnation. But how many are in that level, in that spiritual level of maturity?
I wanted to ask you something about kind of flexibility and adaptability and spontaneity. Because yesterday, for example, I was watching that documentary. I listened intently to this dialogue when Ramana Maharishi said, "Search for the source of the I." I was very inspired to follow that instruction. And I think it was the right thing to do. I didn't do it though. I think it was the right thing to do, was to follow that instruction, because I was inspired in that moment to do it right there, you know. But because you'd given me a slightly different instruction, I thought, my mind was like, no, you can't, you can't follow this inspirational moment. You must stick to what you've been told. I think my mind is like a dictator sometimes, like a dogmatic dictator, because it would have been, it's the same question, just from a different standpoint, as you explained earlier. And why not go with the inspiration in the moment?
Yes, you can use different approaches to gain the same end result, looking straight away of the nature of awareness, which is the only real self and the only reality. And it depends also from the sadhanas or tapas that each and every individual did in his or her past lifetimes. So if, for example, somebody is used to sadhanas or tapas according to Dzogchen tradition, then he will feel more familiarity with such kind of practices or meditations or teachings, and this will work much more than, for example, of those of Advaita Vedanta path, let's say. So it depends always what happened before, what kind of spiritual practices and spiritual habits had each and every individual. Of course, apparent individual, because there are no individuals in reality. So for Andrew, for example, practices and sadhanas or tapas, which are connected mostly with the Buddhistic approach, may be more helpful, let's say, or more familiar. And they will not need so much practice because of practicing before in previous lifetimes. And similarly, for another one who did a lot of practices and was working in Advaita Vedanta path, in this lifetime will seem much more familiar, and it will be more beneficial to him or her. That's why there is no problem to be different paths, because it is according to each and every apparent individual what he or she really needs.
But also, just in the moment, when you're inspired, it's okay to follow your inspiration in that moment. Like the example I gave, I was inspired to follow Ramana Maharishi's instructions in that moment.
Yes, also it is about how you feel the particular moment and how you are open or not. And if this can be inspiring, this moment, yes, you can follow it and you can try it. And there is no problem. Whatever is helpful, you can use it. You can go according to the circumstances and how you feel. But it is, on the other hand, is always more helpful to follow the guidance that you can find in the ancient scriptures, in all the legitimate and real sampradayas, guru paramparas, which is a more, let's say, secure environment, instead of experimenting all the time. You can also experimenting and see how you feel and how you can be inspired, but also you have to follow the previous paths and the previous sages who have walked the path and who can really offer a very, very precious instructions.
Yes, it's not something, I mean, to do all the time, or just like in that one moment. It was like not something to be done regularly. Experimenting, I mean. Similarly, this slightly different question again, because in this instance I have no instructions. So when I'm reciting the mantra that I was given, I'm experimenting a little when I'm reciting it. For example, maybe this is me being stupid, I don't know, but I'm reciting the mantra and I do it differently nearly every time, in a sense, and not major differences, because I'm just reciting a mantra. How different can it be? But I'm reciting the mantra, and for example, I think it was the day before yesterday, when I'm reciting it, I'm really trying to get, I'm reciting it inwardly, not outwardly, inwardly, and it's almost like I'm trying to become one with the mantra, and when I'm reciting it, it's almost like the inner vibration I want to pervade my entire being. That's just me making up an idea. I mean, I have no idea. I've not had any instructions exactly how to recite the mantra inwardly, but to be like, to become one with the mantra, so it pervades my inner being. So I'm experimenting. I think that, and it was inspiring to do it like that, to really get inside it and to become one with it, and for it to feel like it was vibrating inside my inner being. So this kind of experimentation, I presume, is okay, because why not?
Yes, of course, no problem. No problem. But always keep in mind.
I can't hear you very well. It's quite muffled.
Always
should remember the instructions of the Guru Parampara, that it's not about also the experience that it is the most important. For example, a lot of people, they are searching blissful experiences, you know that.
Yeah.
Which is by itself, it is not bad. But when it becomes, how to say, when it becomes a wish and a strong desire for doing spiritual practices only for having blissful experiences or exotic experiences, then it can become an obstacle. Because whatever is an experience is something impermanent and something which is connected with the mind. So it cannot lead you to the truth and to the recognition and conviction of what you really are. So the instructions, for example, from the scriptures, and especially Upanishads, is not to be over interested about having experiences while you do your sadhana, your spiritual practices, because this may lead you astray.
Yes,
if they come, you accept them, but you should not wish for them, you should not stuck on them, and you should use them as only a stepping stone and go beyond of any kind of experiences. So all the beautiful experiences are the result of having the mind in a restful state and bringing out the true nature of the mind, which is connected with the source, the real consciousness itself. But to search for beautiful experiences or blissful experiences by itself can be an obstacle.
Yeah, because it's ego-driven.
Yeah, the ego will try to use these beautiful experiences to go astray and to use them as entertainment. When in reality, we don't do spiritual practices for any kind of entertainment or blissful experiences. We do the spiritual practices to know the self, to know which is our true nature, our true self, what we really are, self-knowledge. If they come, some nice experiences, okay, you accept them and you welcome them, but not to stuck on them and not to wish for them.
When I'm reciting yesterday, for example, when I was reciting my mantra, it's before I do my meditation. So really, the more profound that I merge, if you like, into the mantra, the more blessings I receive, the better my meditation. So it's a preparation I'm doing for my meditation. It's not an end in itself.
Then it is okay. Especially the recitation of the mantra that Andrew have received by doing japa mala. It is not for self-knowledge. It is not for revealing the nature of the self or what you really are. It is for chitta suddhi, the purification of the mind, the preparation of the mind.
Yeah.
So by itself, it is a preparatory practice anyway. The same with upasana, any kind of meditation in deities or forms of God, Saguna Brahman. All these are just preparatory practices, and you can gain with them purification of the mind, preparation of the mind, in order sequentially after to be ready for jnana yoga, self-knowledge, which is the highest form of bhakti. So bhakti is really threefold. It is karma yoga, upasana, and jnana yoga. Unfortunately, nowadays they present in a wrong way these forms. They say bhakti yoga is for emotional people, and you can gain self-realization moksha even only with bhakti yoga, with worshipping of any kind and pujas and rituals. And they say with Raja Yoga, you can also enter to moksha, doing different kinds of meditation, which is also not correct. And also they say that you can, if you are active, an active person, that you can enter to moksha through activities for the benefit of humanity, and so on and so forth. But all this is completely against the scriptures. You cannot have self-knowledge with karma yoga or with pujas or with worshipping of any kind or with any kind of meditation. Meditation by itself cannot reveal the self, cannot reveal our true nature. It is only for preparatory purposes and for the purification of the mind, but it cannot by itself reveal what you really are, self-knowledge. So real bhakti, according to Upanishads, to the Upanishads, which is of course the highest form and the most profound teachings that ever existed, is the combination. Bhakti yoga is really a combination of karma yoga, upasana, and jnana yoga.
Yes, So when you say according to the scriptures, it's important to understand, isn't it? When you say scriptures, it means the realization of the rishis and the saints of the past. It's not some book. It's not some dogmatic book. It's the realizations of the highest level.
Yes, and the rishis always they mention that this truth that they have conveyed, it's not their own truth. It is what they have received from their gurus. And their gurus have received from their gurus, and their gurus have received from their gurus, and so on and so forth. So the actual source of these teachings are not the rishis themselves. It is the ultimate consciousness. It is what we call Isvara, or Bhagavan, or God, the Saguna aspect of Brahman, which is the controller of the apparent universe and the apparent beings. So
what's the
this teaching, the ultimate guru, or the Adi Guru, as it is mentioned, it is Isvara himself, God himself, Saguna Brahman, the God who is at the same time the controller together with Maya.
I was reading about Maya, and at the end of this amazing book that I've been reading, Thoughts from the Gita, it's very, very good. And it's a very profound book, very intellectual, and a lot of it I need to read many times probably. And everything in it, as far as I'm aware, which is not that far, is correct and in accordance. That's why they sell it at Sringeri. It's in accordance with the lineage. And when it got to what is Maya, it really, I don't understand it. Really, I can understand. I'm reading a little bit and thinking, okay, I understand English, but really, it's like the potential for all experience. It's different. He gives different short explanations, and he gives a long definition. But I really don't understand it. So, what can you tell me about Maya, or is it important to even know about it?
Yes, Maya is the most difficult topic in Upanishads because it cannot fall into the category of existence, of the category of non-existence. So it is the most profound and the most difficult issue because Maya is something like the shadow of Brahman. And through Maya, whatever appears and disappears can be so. Because Brahman cannot create and cannot do anything. He is only the substratum. This substratum, this source, cannot produce and cannot create and cannot do anything at all. But Maya, it's a kind of a shadow, it's a kind of a power of projecting the apparent universe and the apparent beings. But in itself, Maya, you cannot say that it really exists or it does not exist. It is, as the Upanishads are mentioned, it is seemingly existent, the same as like the universe and the apparent beings. They have no real, they are not really created. It is only an appearance through the projecting power of Maya. So just like the dream, you cannot say that the dream does not exist, and you cannot say that the dream does really exist. For the dreamer, whatever appears in the dream, it is fully functional and fully appears as real for the dreamer. The same with the apparent universe and the apparent beings. While in this big dream, yes, just like in the big dream, everything experientially appears real. The same with the dream in the night. For the dreamer, experientially, everything appears real. So there is experienceability for the dreamer in the dream in the night. There is utility. If the dreamer is thirsty and somebody offers to him water, the thirst will go away.
Mm-hmm.
And also there is transactability. The
Mm-hmm.
dreamer can have transactions with other apparent beings, just like it is real. But upon waking up, there is no anymore this dream world.
Mm.
So that's why in Advaita Vedanta we use the dream, because to have an experience of something, it doesn't prove its real existence.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said earlier that any kind of experiences in sadhanas, in spiritual practices, does not really mean so much.
Mm.
It's not about experiencing in spiritual practices. It is about internalizing the truth that you have been receiving through Sravanam and Mananam. That's why in Advaita Vedanta we don't start with Nididhyasanam. We start with Sravanam and Mananam, and then we internalize or assimilating this truth with Nididhyasanam.
Mm-hmm.
But in other spiritual paths, they start somehow with meditation, which is wrong,
Mm.
because experiences are on the level of the mind. Anything that is an experience, actually, it is impermanent.
Mm-hmm.
It is not something stable. It comes, it goes. It comes, it goes. But what is accommodating each and every experience does not come and go. The substratum of awareness, consciousness, Brahman, does not come and go. It's always the same. It is always unchanging. It is this formless, nameless, birthless substratum. It is like a space-like field, which is always unchanging, just like the screen of the cinema. Whether there is an experience of a drama in the screen or an experience of a comedy, the screen itself does not change. It can accommodate both experiences. It can accommodate uh, a good, a positive, or a happy event in the
Mm.
screen, or it can accommodate a dramatic event. But by itself, the screen does not have any kind of a change. It is exactly the same with our true nature as awareness consciousness. So it is not important to have beautiful, blissful, or exotic experiences.
Mm.
They cannot reveal awareness itself. They may give some kind of courage. You may feel that it was nice, and you may enjoy these experiences, but by themselves, they cannot reveal what you really are. So to be so much concerned about having spiritual experiences, it is not the true way of finding your true nature, your true self.
So you said it's like a space-like field.
Yes, which does not have a beginning or an ending point, does not have any borders.
So if you are in Nididhyasanam and your experience, any experience you have in nididhyasana, like for example, your mind might become very peaceful and like feel like vast and space-like, but that's still something that you're observing. Can you experience? It's a strange question, but can you experience your true nature? Can you experience yourself? Is it an experience? Or
No,
like,
it cannot be an experience,
but what can it be then?
because that will mean that you objectify your true self. But your true self awareness cannot be objectified. It is the subject, it is the seer. It cannot be the seen. It cannot be an object that you have an experience of that. It is that which can accommodate each and every experience, but by itself cannot be an experience. It is like you want to see your eyes, the eyes to see the eyes. That is not possible. The eyes cannot see themselves, except, of course, if you use a mirror. The same with awareness. Awareness cannot see itself as an object because it is the only one that really exists. It cannot be an object of observation. So by trying to see yourself or to know yourself or to experience yourself, it is impossible. Experience cannot help. Any kind of an experience is a impermanent thing, a mithya thing, something that appears and disappears, and something which is not permanent, mithya. So what we do in Advaita Vedanta, we receive the revelation of the Upanishads. We receive through Sravanam and Mananam this revelation, and then we internalize, assimilating through Nididhyasanam, through the Vedantic meditation process, which is not a real meditation as we know it from other paths, which is a kind of an absorption or silence. In Nididhyasanam, Vedantic meditation, it is more a contemplative method. It's like you are refreshing and you are seeing or internalizing again and again all the teaching that you have received previously from Sravanam and Mananam. And now you want to marinate yourself in this truth. And you contemplate this truth. You don't want to go into a kind of absorption in silence. Silence may help as a preparation, or after you have seen the truth on the contemplative basis. Silence can help after just to enjoy. But by itself, silence or the negation of the mind or silencing the mind does not really help. So we want the mind. We use the mind. We don't want to kill the mind. Anyway, the mind does not really exist as an entity. It is only a tool.
I really can't get that, what you're talking about. I really don't get it. For me, silence is essential. It's essential.
It is essential as a preparation. It is essential after to enjoy the truth, but it cannot be used as a basic tool for seeing what you really are.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that you need to contemplate.
It's not, yes, it is not enough. Silence is not enough.
Okay. So you need to contemplate, but also that contemplation can be done as a kind of knowing. That doesn't need to be like big thoughts going on. Do you know what I mean? Like this happened to me the other day. I'm meditating, I'm contemplating, because you have to contemplate. If you're meditating on, like, if you're meditating on emptiness, for example, you need to contemplate at some point, all right? Because then you've got no direction. If you're just sitting in silence, you're not meditating on emptiness. You need to contemplate the teachings on emptiness, and then that directs you towards the goal, inverted commas. But you need to contemplate. But that contemplation sometimes can be almost like silence, because you know what's, as you're looking at the absence of the self, for example.
You mean the absence of the small or fake self, the
Yes,
body-mind
the
complex?
looking at the absence of the person, the so-called person, such that, you know, to whatever degree you can do that. When you're looking, after you've contemplated and you think, oh my God, there's nothing there, there's no person, you can look with knowingness that is silent. It's like you're seeing, or you're knowing. Doesn't have to be with big thoughts. It can be like a silent understanding of what you're doing.
Yes, that is okay. But you cannot easily be on that state from the first moment. So you need the contemplative basis in order to perhaps to enter that state of silencing knowing afterwards.
Yeah,
then it is okay. Then you don't need any more what we call the mind. You can just remain and you can just abide in that knowing in a silent manner. That is wonderful.
exactly.
But
that.
it's not easily attainable, that especially for junior seekers.
No,
For a very much senior meditator, it can be more easily done. But for a junior meditator or a junior spiritual seeker, this abiding in a knowing which is silent, it is very, very difficult. And the same with a jnani. A jnani does not need anymore to do nididhyasanam as well. Sacchidananda don't need to do any kind of nididhyasanam or any kind of meditation anymore. Because this knowing is permeating 24/7. So why to do any kind of nididhyasanam or meditation or contemplation? There is no need anymore. If for more than 12 years there is a permanent recognition and conviction of this knowing, then there is no need. It is just an abiding afterwards on that knowing. Even if there is no silence, the knowing is there as a permanent recognition and conviction. Whether you walk, you eat, you speak, you do whatever the body-mind complex needs to do as an activity, this knowing is always there. So to be aware that you are awareness, and that to be on a permanent basis, as a permanent knowing and conviction, this is what we call self-realization. And then there is no need of any spiritual practice anymore. You may do apparently some participation in Vedic ritual, let's say, Vedic rituals or pujas, or participating in any kind of religious or spiritual activities, not because you need to do the purification of the mind, Citta Suddhi, or you need to enter to this knowing, but you may perhaps do this as an example for the other seekers, as a good example. Or you may do Vedic rituals for purification, for the purification of humanity. Just like the Sankaracharyas in the mats, they are doing for hours. They don't do them for themselves to become a jnani. They are already a jnani. So they do these rituals for humanity. They don't really gain anything from these rituals. And they don't need to gain anything from these rituals. Their life is just for the service to humanity. Loka Sangraham, purification and upliftment of humanity. The same with Ramana Maharishi. Ramana Maharishi need not to do any kind of spiritual practice.